also. So thank you for being here. This is Persistence Breakout Room, room 2 of 4 for the September series. Last week was Commitment. This week is Persistence. And yeah, Carmen's going to come in. San Diego's going to come in. We're going to leave the room open, let some more people come up. And I'm just going to play some music for a little bit while people come in for the first 5 minutes, okay? Oh, yes. What's up, Willie? Just getting the room started. Right in the first 5 minutes. You can come up if you want to. Change is gonna come and play it out in strong. From the way you're looking at me, how could it be wrong? Happiest always found in certainty. So yeah, if you're here, you can just start to think about persistence as it relates to your life and the element of air. Just start to let that circulate into your consciousness. If you want to grab some water, maybe a journal, you can do so. Any crystals that work for you. I'm gonna give you the best of my love. Change your mind. Giving you so many things to say. Showing you the joys of love. And I find there's ways I can. And I want to. I'm going to mute myself for 1 second. Give me 1 second. What's going on, babe?
Nothing much.
What's going on? Your friend was looking for you. I forgot her name though. She just left.
And I was trying to figure out who it was that just left.
Yeah, she just left. I forgot her name. Hold on. I can't search who was just in here recently. Okay, cool. So is pinging normally what works best?
Most of the time, and then once you gather a number of followers, once you gather a number of followers and they start following, then people pop in, and then most of the time,
Copy that. Okay, so we could start pinging at around 2:55 then when I open the room next time.
Whenever you're available. Yes, ma'am, I got you. A lot of crazy things going on. I got you.
That's actually something I wanted to integrate today, was just like the third of this I would like to just have be the readings, because I thought it was cool how that happened unintentionally last week with my everything freezing.
Nice, I got you.
Cool.
If you can, go ahead and start. The people that's trickling into the room, you can invite them on stage just by tapping in.
Awesome. Yeah, I was just sharing this with some people. Invite to speak. I got y'all. Cool. Awesome. Following everybody.
Well, waiting for more people to hop in. I'm gonna be in transition for taking faith word practice real quick. So it's just 5 minutes up the road.
Okay. Cool. No worries. I'll just play music for a few more moments. So when you ping someone, you just have to click their name underneath the ping, right?
Yeah, and sometimes I said they'll get the message.
Okay, cool. Sick. Cybersecurity professional in the building. That's cool. Hi, Jolie. Argue for your limitations and you'll get to keep them. Wow. What a statement. What a statement. All right, let's start to drop into our breath a little bit. Just bringing awareness to our lungs. Bringing awareness to how we feel. Bringing awareness to this experience. And starting to bring awareness to this second week. I mean, it's like first week, second week of September, right? Which is always a trippy feeling when it's not just the week. So I'm gonna go ahead and invite anybody up that wants to come. And let's go ahead and get into it. So first thing first, I just want to check in and let everybody know that we're here from last week. Last week's theme was commitment, and we're here for persistence today. So thank you for being here. I deeply appreciate your presence, and I hope that persistence is something that relates to your experience. And if it doesn't, I'm happy to open up. This is an open format conversation, so if at any point you want to share something or you feel extremely charged, flash your mic and we can shift gears a little bit. Also, since we're doing past life relation work, if you do get deeply emotionally triggered, it may be a past life connection. So if you can sit with it, I invite you to try to do so. We're here for persistence. Thank you, Carmen, for having everybody. Thank you for having me. I want to invite us to take a moment just to find gratitude for this space that we're in right here, this moment in time that has allowed us to all be together. It's an extremely pivotal space, and there's a lot to be grateful for because we didn't have to be able to be here, and all of our ancestors were very persistent in putting us into this position. So if we could just take a moment to take a few breaths and just find gratitude for the fact that we're here. Thank you for taking that moment. And I think that prayer and gratitude is something that's very important to be persistent about. So for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and push the envelope a little bit and ask that just for the next 2 minutes, you let me guide you through either an open-eyed or closed-eyed meditation on persistence. So if you are driving, please do not close your eyes. If you are in a seated position and there's nothing you need to care for the next 2 minutes, I invite you to find a comfortable seat. Just let your clubhouse exist as it does. Go ahead and step away from the phone. And even if you are driving, just let your phone sit in your lap and start to drop into your heart center for a moment. As it relates to persistence, the heart is one of the most persistent organs in the body. It is persistent enough to change with each breath that we take. It is persistent enough to commit to us for this entire lifetime. So let's take a breath of gratitude into our heart space and observe where there may be any blockages or any huge amounts of flowing energy in prana. And exhale, let it go. Let's do 2 more like that. Inhale to the heart space. And exhale, let it go. And 1 more to the heart space. And exhale, big offering, let it go. Now observe how you can be persistent with finding peace in anticipation. We are perpetually in a state of anticipation in Western society, and we talk about this, but persistence has, for the most part, been declared as something that is a very yang energy and output energy. And so I want to invite us at the end of this small meditation here to just come into recognizing that you can receive the persistence of life also. Because life is very persistent about giving you things to help you grow, giving you things for you to find gratitude for, giving you opportunities, giving you technology to use to be on this clubhouse. And your persistence meets life. So let's just breathe into that. Whew. Thank you for being here. So go ahead and flood your eyes open if you are not in a closed-eyed position. And I just want to, before I get into the definition of persistence, just invite anybody if they'd like to speak to their experience and past understandings with the word. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you for letting me know. So if we have any past understandings with persistence, or we have experiences where persistence might relate to us, would anybody like to share? I like to get people to talk about their experience with the word before I give the linguistic definition, just so it's a little bit more of a collective definition.
For me, persistence is always, I define myself as a chick of persistence. In any circumstance given, it's like I persevere. I think that's another word that you can tie to persistence, but it's just a matter of, if it's something that I see that I want for my life, I'm always aiming for that thing. I may slip, I may trip, I may fall, but I always find a way to get back up. I may make mistakes, I may fail, but I always find a way to get back up, to get to wherever it is that I'm trying to go, or whatever goal it is that I'm trying to accomplish.
You know, I think.
Never given.
Say that one more time, Cameron.
I said I connect with persistence as never giving up.
Thank you. Thank you. Would anyone else, April or Jolie, like to make a share?
Yeah, peace everybody. Thanks for inviting me.
Of
For me, I would say persistence, I equate it to, determination. That's how I think of it. Just having a level of determination. That, I agree. They're not giving up.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. You might hear me clicking away because I'm taking notes always from every session, just so you know that's what's happening. So thank you. If we feel complete on that, then that's exactly what I wanted to speak to, is that this idea of persistence has many synonyms. And persistence is defined as firm or obstinate continuance in a course of action in spite of difficulty or opposition, which is exactly what we just shared as the collective, right? Perseverance, determination, not giving up. Perseverance is defined by the word persistence. Persistence in doing something despite difficulty. So these words loop in on each other in a very, very amazing way. And just for the sake of it, I'm going to look up the definition of determination just to see what we can find. Firmness or of purpose, resoluteness. So all these words all can loop back into persistence, and they can loop back into each other in quantum entanglements of definitions. And as it relates to linguistics, this collective experience is very shared, right? We seem to have a shared understanding of what it means to be persistent. So what I want us to do now is to shift gears from our own definition of persistence and start to think about where in your life have you seen that maybe you have tolerated people not being persistent about supporting you? Where have you seen that when things arise with difficulty or opposition, certain people's persistence starts to falter? And I want you to immediately consider the emotion that comes with that. If we're working with anger, fear, sadness, or joy, what emotion does it make you feel when people aren't persistent in supporting you? I know for me, that when people aren't persistent in supporting me, it makes me feel what I think is angry, but then is truly deeply, deeply afraid. And that's because of my own patterning with codependency. I'm still unlocking narratives that make me feel like I need support in certain things. And that's not to say that the collective experience of shared journeys isn't real, but this feeling that I am not the one who needs to be persistent for me has disempowered my persistence. That's a personal example. So I'm curious if anyone has examples of where they observe that other people's lack of persistence in supporting them has been observed in their life and how that affects you.
Repeat the question. I'm sorry.
How have you observed in your life when other people are not persistent about supporting you? How do you let that affect you? I got Jolie and Carmen wanting to speak at the same time. So whoever wants to go first.
Go ahead, Joe.
Thank you. I would say, so for me, yeah, it's definitely, it shows up, it does show up in relationships. It has shown up in the workspace. Those are, I mean, yeah, it's shown up in family life. So it's shown up in a couple of different places. I am by any means necessary type of person, though, so I don't let it stop me. So, right, I think it comes right back to the depth, to the topic. I remain who I am with or without. And once I feel, whether I have support or not, I'm going to get it done. That's just what it is because I have to.
Right. I love that. And I'm going to speak to that. But go ahead. No, please.
I was just going to say, I feel the feeling that I feel is always sadness. So I feel sad when I don't get the support that I want or that I need. But yeah, it's what it is. I try not to wallow in it. I give myself time to feel the sadness because I think that's healthy. So I let myself feel it, but I still keep going.
Right. Absolutely. Transmutation. You want to go ahead and share, Carmen? Thank you, Jolie.
Sure. Mine has always been that of frustration, and I'm noticing that over time, even during this week, just sitting with myself, and some things about myself being exposed to me. Frustration has always been that feeling that follows behind the lack of persistence that I expected from those that I don't need it, that I felt I needed support from. There were times where I was almost pushed to a feeling of hate because I lacked the understanding of those around me having their own unique lives. So I feel like, okay, if I'm able to sacrifice my time, space, and money for you, why can't you do the same? So eventually it went from frustration to resentment for the things that I was, putting forth. Like, I'm being persistent with you in the things that I do and just showing myself not to get it back in return. But for me, it was just a matter of seeing your heart and seeing who you are.
Yeah, big breath on that. Those moments we have to outgrow, right? And that brings me to my next point right here in this breakout session. That, go ahead, Cameron. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say.
You there?
You went on mute, Cameron.
I think you muted yourself. No? Okay, well, when he comes back, we'll go ahead and let him share the floor. And where we have an opportunity is this idea of transmutation, right? And the prompt that I was going to bring that was so brilliantly already answered by Jolie was, how can you transmute this feeling of frustration, codependency, survival by any means necessary, or hatred. I got you, Cameron. 1 second. How can you transmute this feeling into persistence and self-reliability? Right? Because if it's just the fuel of sadness, anger, fear, frustration, codependency, hatred, then we're not really activating them by any means necessary. We're actually just living in this place of suffering. I wonder where Cameron went. Okay. We're just living in this place of suffering. So it's super important to just like let that move through us instead of just focus on it. Super, super important. I feel bad that Cameron left. I just want to take a breath on that and reset the room really quick. I'm not sure what just went down.
He probably got kicked by accident. He'll be back.
Okay.
April is driving right now. She's doing Lyft, so she won't be responding that much.
Copy that. No worries. Shouts out to whoever's in that lift with her. So, yeah. So how you can transmute this, and that was already brought up. And then something else I want to bring into your attention right now is something I always like to play with that Carmen and I talk about a lot is tracking who reaches out to you when you're doing what. So I want to invite us all to take a moment to kind of just look at our patterning and see this question of when you are persistent, who hits you up and with what sort of information or emotional content do they hit you up with? And just sit with that for a second and see who comes to mind. See if there's any habits or patterns in the people that reach out to you as it relates to you not giving up. Like when you break through, who reaches you out? Who reaches out to you? And that's a personal question for you to just sit with and start to track as you go through your journey. And the next point I want to speak to is when you are persistent, where do you feel it in your body? Like, and that's just a one-off question, not too much of a scan, but just first thing you hear me say, when you think of persistence, where in your body do you feel it? And if anybody wants to speak to this, I'm down to hear shares for this for sure.
I'll speak. I would say, when I'm persistent, I feel it probably in my heart.
And does it feel like a strong feeling or a full feeling? Could you describe it?
It's a very strong feeling because I think we've all been through, everyone has their own things that they've been through, their own traumas, their own situations, whatever, we want to call it. But it takes a certain type of person to keep getting up and keep going, in spite of, right, those things,
right,
those circumstances.
Right.
So for me, it's definitely in my heart, and it's a very strong feeling because it has to be. It's a feeling of it literally is that feeling of by any means necessary. Like it has to be that strong because it has to be strong enough to overcome any sadness. Right? It has to be strong enough to overcome so I can't live in the sadness. I let myself feel it, but then I gotta move past it. So the get up and go, that motivation, it has to be enough to carry me past that point.
Right, and that's the transmutation of the fuel source, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's super important because it's a fuel source that has to be looked at and seen and it has to be acknowledged. But it's also like when we learned about the spaceships that went up to the sky, when they start to get to the higher spheres, ascension, you have to let go of those empty fuel tanks, or at a certain point they become dead weight.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, it's pivotal. It's pivotal. And we weren't really taught how to acknowledge what it is we're letting go of. And we also weren't taught to really transmute. We were taught definitely sit down, be quiet, deal with your feelings, like move on, get over it. And part of that is colonization. Part of that is the effects of slavery, So give me 1 second. Hey, mama.
That brings up.
Can you close the door, please?
While I was driving, I feel like most of the patterning that has been handed down to the melanated community, that is something we have to learn how to break ourselves out of. And most of the times when we don't have that example, some of us know how to persist and find the answers to that very thing to break us out of the habit that we have been conditioned and programmed with.
Yeah, no, it's a real thing. And there's a lot of ancestral trauma. There's a lot of past life trauma. There's a lot of sexual trauma, and there's a lot of financial trauma that breaks us from maintaining persistency. Depression is one of the main things that gets in the way of being persistent, right? Because when I'm 5 weeks into a slump and I don't even have the energy to change clothes, I'm like, fam, I'm being persistent about drinking water. Like, I'm staying alive right now. And so much of that is not related to what we're actually going through in our personal experience. It's a collective experience that's relating to past life cycles, and it relates to the species. And that brings me to my next point, that it's really important to remember that biologically, you, the listener in this moment, you are extremely adept. And I say that because if we look at science, right, westernized science, European science that takes out spirituality completely, it's said that only the most elite and adept of any species can carry on the genetic line and the genetic code. And you already know where I'm going with this. You figured out how to do that somehow. I don't know if you agreed 7 lives back to be this cat, or your parents just had great genes. It could be a mix, right? But if we're just going with science, you literally survived out of millions of other people that could have not. And so innately, that means you have persistence in your DNA. And I give that to you as something you can take away. If you don't take anything else away from this, remember that your DNA has already agreed to be persistent about living. Oh, there's a big breath there for you to kind of let go a little bit. Like, oh yeah, I made it this far. That's major. This is a wild planet. There's like mountains and sharks and predators, and we joke about it, but like, this is a wild planet and you're living. So, and there's sicknesses, diseases, viruses, and all of these things affect our biome. So I think it's just super important to affirm yourself and let yourself know that your biology is already persistent about living. And that brings me to a question for the collective. Just in your personal life, with regards to the things you're manifesting, our last week was commitment. So I'm curious about, what have you been committed to being persistent about in your life up until this point? I'll go third or second.
Mine has been self-love, so that love can gravitate toward me.
Say that.
Mine has been my business, pursuing, like, just keep going, because I often have a way of starting things and not finishing. And I also talking to my YouTube channel, just reading consistently, being consistent, posting videos,
Shout out. I love that. I'm also just very happy you came back and spoke. You just made my heart melt. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Well, no, you're welcome. Sorry.
We welcome, we thankful. Would you like to share, Julie, while you're up here? Or do you feel like you've spoken? Up to you.
Yeah, no, I can share.
Okay.
So what I've been passionate about, I would say
persistent. Yeah, what have you been committed to being persistent about in your life? Or maybe passion, like maybe it's something you're passionate about. I don't want to in any way like belittle your passion either,
Yeah, no. Persistent is good. I mean, as of right now, it's been So of course it's going to be, my family, my daughter, but it's also going to be my purpose, the pursuit of my purpose. That's, hella important to me right now. So yeah.
Say that. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Let's all take just inhale in, please, and breathe in for a moment. And just let that thing we're committed to being persistent about in our personal journey resonate in our heart center, like we said. And then just exhale some grace and let that go and sort of blow some wishes and stardust onto each other's thing so that we can create this symbiotic relationship within the community of persistence. I'm persistent about supporting my own ambitions, and I am persistent about supporting yours. And then the next question, this is a wild question, but it's actually very related to what Jolie just spoke to about purpose. What do you believe you return to Earth to do? What is your reincarnated purpose?
I do, because it's in my birth chart. So I'm here to be a healer. It was said to me by somebody a few years ago, and I didn't believe me. But it seems like I heal everybody who I'm in contact with. So that's what made me be a reader. So yeah, I'm here to teach people. And that's what I'm doing, living in my truth.
Very beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. All right. Scorpion Lisa just came through in the audience. What about you, Carmen San Diego?
Mine has been being the visionary that I know that I am to be, and just bringing all of my gifts to include healing to the table. Well, bringing all my gifts to the table for the purposes of healing. Whether that be on a local level, small level, national level, international level, it doesn't matter. I just know that whatever it is, all the creative gifts that I have within me, they're meant to bring some type of light and balance to this world. So that's what I'm striving. That's where my persistence lies, is getting to that point.
And there are amazing, because I love you, you're amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by the people who are persistent about us. Like that little gas right there. Take note of the people who do that to you, because that is so important for our ego. When our ego gets that, then it doesn't have to flare out anywhere. But if we block, Cameron's back. If we block the ego and we're like, oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. I had a guru tell me that it's just as egotistical to act overly humble as it is to act boastfully. To be, oh, okay, thank you. Oh no, of course. It's like, yo, receive. So this process of being persistent in our output, but also persistent in our reception, which is why I started the session with this idea that persistence has been prescribed to us as a very yang sun output identity, but it also has a yin nature to it, where we are persistently receiving the yang energy of life itself, i.e. living. So I love that you just gassed her up, Shay. Good, that's good work. I love that. And we are starting to come. Oh, Cameron, did you want to share something? Because you hit a whole portal, bro.
I forgot it, bro.
All right, bet. So what's up, Carmen? You got something?
No, I'm on my computer now, so I'm kind of like playing with the whole mute button. I'm still learning it.
Oh, no worries. Okay, cool. All right, so what that does is it brings us pretty much coming to the close of our session. Now we're at about 25 minutes, coming up to 30. And these are just small breakout sessions on persistence. I want to inform you something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, is that as we go deeper into the healing journey, not everything is going to be so focused on our wounds. And that means that we're not going to get a lot of the same huge dopamine highs sometimes from sessions that we used to get. They'll still come, but as the wounds get healed, the neosporin or whatever it is we use as the metaphor doesn't feel like such a shock because there's not as much to heal. And this is a statement to your healing journey. I say this very, very intentionally and forewarningly because we have the invitation to make sure that we don't focus too much on sensation chasing. What that actually ends up being is another form of trauma creation or storm chasing, where because we are missing dopamine, we want to find something to make us feel like we're healed and we just got a big jump. And we don't have to take those big jumps anymore. Jolie, just to drop you back in, we're just talking about how when we drop into the healing journey more and we're longer in the journey, we have to make sure we have the space to make sure that we don't look for the same sensations later in our journey because we're farther along. So the dopamine releases aren't going to be as big because the wounds aren't as big. So they may be harder to break apart, or they may take longer to work with, and we may need to dedicate more persistence to them. But it's very important that we're careful not to storm chase and to look for huge events that we feel that we've overcome. Very important. So with that, I invite us to repeat some affirmations for the end of this session. We will say, I am persistent 8 times, just like the song I have. And then we will say, I commit to my persistence 8 times. And the reason we're doing 8 is to check in with each chakra. So let's go ahead, focus on the root chakra for a moment. Take an inhale and repeat the mantra, I am persistent. See the color red, let your roots be strong. Now inhale, lift into your sacral chakra, the body of water. I am persistent. Let your creativity and your sensuality be persistent. Lift into your solar plex chakra. I am persistent. Let your soul's ambitions and your purpose shine with persistence. Inhale, lift into the heart center, finding that green embrace of nourishment, the seat of the soul of consciousness, love, the persistent heartbeat. I am persistent. Let your heart be persistent in love. Lift, rise to your throat chakra, the communicator and the receiver, the blue throat, the one that can become the ocean, the storms, and the peace. Inhale into your throat. I am persistent. Let your truth be persistent. Lift and rise into your third eye, the seat of your consciousness, your thoughts, the visionary, the planner, the map. Breathe into your higher consciousness, amethyst crystal castle. I am persistent. Finding grace for yourself. Allow yourself to rise to your crown chakra. Let your crown sit on your head. I am persistent. Now let's go back down, letting our crown and our royalty, our persistence to royalty, drip back down into our body. First, we start with our crown. I am committed to my persistence. Bringing it to the third eye. I am committed to my persistence. Very simple. To the throat. I am committed to my persistence. To the heart. I am committed to my persistence. To the solar plex. I am committed to my persistence. To the sacral, I am committed to my persistence. And to the root chakra, I am committed to my persistence. Take an inhale here. Go ahead and exhale, let it go. Feel the power of your persistence resonate through you. Rub your hands together. Big inhale, bring your hands to your heart, exhale out of your mouth, let it go. Thank you. With great gratitude. Sa namaste, y'all. Thanks for coming to today's breakout session on persistence. That brings us to about 30 minutes total. So I think Carmen's going to do some work. And if anybody has anything they want to share or want to speak to, then I totally am happy to be in the room with you. We will do 2 more sessions this month. What do we got? Consistency and one more thing. I forget. Hold on. I have the chart up right here. We got consistency and resilience. There we go. So again, those synonyms and parallel reflections of persistence. And this month is Virgo, 6th house. So all about analytical nature, how we're dropping into our systems, in our bodies, introspection. And this week's theme is air, and this month's theme is the ant element. So when we think about persistence, you can think about the ant, because the ant is so strong and so persistent, and no one would know it. So how does that relate to your life? And thanks so much for being here, y'all. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see y'all next week. Let's go ahead and drop into